Hello, and welcome to another edition of Exclusive Interview, coming to you from the studios of 84 TV Radio, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Stanley Bentu. Now, a funny thing happened to a young lady named Kamala Harris recently. On her way to work, she became the vice president of the most powerful country in the world. Now, exactly what does this mean, and how is it going to impact women all over the world, especially in Nigeria? Have a look at this report.
In her first remarks as Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Harris offered an inspirational message to America's women, and more specifically, black women.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities.
During those remarks, she reflected on the black women who paved the way for her historic ascent, referring to black women as the backbone of democracy. Kamala Harris has spent her life crashing through glass ceilings and accumulating firsts. She was the first female district attorney of San Francisco, the first female Attorney General of California, the first Indian American in the U.S. Senate, the first Indian American candidate of a major party to run for vice president. Soon, she will become the first female vice president if Joe Biden only serves one term as expected. There is a chance that in 2024, she could become the first black female president. Her mother, a breast cancer researcher, was born in India. Her father, an economist, is black and was born in Jamaica. Harris, meanwhile, was born in Oakland, California. Harris' historic nomination and election will give way to a new generation of black female leaders in politics. Introducing President-elect Joe Biden in an optimism-filled outdoor rally, Harris sported a white suit in recognition of the suffragist movement that fought to give U.S. women the vote a century ago. Harris paid tribute to her mother, Shyamala Gopalan Harris, who emigrated from India when she was 19 and died in 2009.
She maybe didn't quite imagine this moment, but she believed so deeply in an America where a moment like this is possible. So I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight.
An historic moment, no doubt, for women all over the world. But what does all this mean to the Nigerian girl child and society at large? On this episode, exclusive interview, host Evelyn Onyilo, a media practitioner and women's rights advocate. Evelyn, with 22 years of journalism under her belt, is the former president of the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists. She is also the editor-in-chief of District Governors Newsletter, Rotary International, District 9125 Nigeria, as well as a former press secretary to the Minister of Women Affairs. She offers a breakdown of the personal and political impact the election of Kamala Harris will have on women in decision-making positions.
Welcome back. Joining me in the studio right now is media practitioner and gender rights advocate, Evelyn Onyilo. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Stanley.
It's a pleasure to have you, especially considering this historic occasion. Kamala Harris, just elected Vice President of the United States. First of all, no woman has ever held that position in over 200 years of the U.S.
Yeah.
And she also happens to be a woman of color who is half black. So this is a massive shattering of the ceiling at the highest level, or second to the highest level, if you like. But what is this? What's the significance of that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me in the studios. Mm-hmm. It's always my pleasure to come around here. And I want to say thank you for all you're doing in advancing the cause of women, children, and the vulnerable generally. Well, like you see, I'm smiling broadly. This is like one of the happiest moments in a long time for women all over the world. Remember when Hillary lost it in 2016 and Donald Trump won that election? We thought that America was going to show us the way in democracy by electing the first female president, but it didn't happen. So right now we're just happy. It is just phenomenal that Kamala Harris happened. She is the first female vice president of the great state, the United States of America. And they have shown the way that yes, America is indeed a bastion of democracy in the world, even though it took them 200 years to get there. But that ceiling, like you said, has been shattered. The first female vice president.
Going back to 2016,
yes,
and the disappointment of that, it would have been quite significant because at the time we had Angela Merkel, who was the German Chancellor. We also had Theresa May in the United Kingdom. So having Hillary Clinton as the President of the United States would have meant that the three largest Western economies would have been under the leadership of women.
But so it didn't happen.
Unfortunately, that was a missed opportunity.
Yes, it didn't happen. So for us, we are hopeful that Kamala Harris is going to make sure that we get that dream, because we are starting now with the office of the vice president, and my prayer is that she will rise and finally shatter the final ceiling that's still standing there.
Okay, well, there's been a lot of talk about glass ceilings and everything, but some men would argue that it's not about that there is no ceiling, that the problem is more with women. You know, there's this talk about women not supporting each other in leadership. Is there any truth to that, or is there something else going on? Are women being systemically and systematically excluded from leadership?
They are. When we come down to Nigeria, the ceilings, sure, even though it's metaphorical, they exist, because it's a patriarchy. Even the Nigerian constitution, it's not genderized. The language in the constitution is gender blind. You will see that he or she, he has the right, he. Where are the women in the constitution? So, from the word go, as a people and as a nation, we have been, psychologically tuned to the fact that leadership positions belong to men, because there is no mention of the female gender in all the statutes or our legal documents as a people in Nigeria that refers to anybody as a she.
As a she. You
only see he.
So it's not even gender neutral.
It's not gender neutral, and that is why a child will be growing up thinking, he. When you start seeing such things from childhood, you grow up with it, and you don't have a place for a woman.
Interestingly, I was discussing a section of the Constitution which was talking about, first of all, that the Constitution prohibits any sort of discrimination, especially on the basis of sex, and yet we have a subsection that says, well, if you can become a Nigerian citizen if you are a woman who's married to a Nigerian man. But there is no provision that says if you are a man married to a Nigerian woman that you can become a Nigerian. Do you see this as a kind of discrimination?
It is. It is. What is good for the goose should be good for the gander. If a woman marries a Nigerian man and becomes Nigerian automatically, why can't a Nigerian woman marry a man from anywhere, and then the man also gets the same rights?
So these are some of the challenges.
These are some of the challenges
we've been facing.
And so,
okay, well, let's come back to this metaphoric glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And what Kamala Harris has achieved, which is no mean feat. I've been reading a lot about her over the last few days, and it brings me back to just looking at some of your accomplishments, being the former press secretary to a Minister of Women Affairs, national president of NAWOJ, and also publicity secretary of the International Visitor Leadership Program Alumni Association, which is an election that you just won recently. Congratulations.
Yeah, in fact, that election, I won that election on the same day that Joe Biden and Kamala were declared president-elect, and so for me it was double celebration, and that is what we have been talking about. That is what we want to do. That is where we want to see women, that in whatever capacity. And mind you, I defeated a guy, a man. So who is limiting women? When the space is open for everybody, when there is access, when there are opportunities for everyone to thrive, I think women are the future of this country. And that future is here, because we have seen what the men have done. See the mess we are in, I'm sorry to say. We need women. We need leaders with empathy right now. I think one of those things that cost Donald Trump his seat is his lack of empathy. We don't need this thing about struggles and wars all the time, talking tough. There are issues on ground. There is COVID-19. There are inequalities. There is hunger. There are diseases. There are so many things that should draw our attention as leaders. And we need people with empathy. And I'm happy that Joe Biden already, President-elect of the United States, has held a meeting yesterday with the committee on coronavirus, or the body on coronavirus, people handling the issues, trying to find treatment, get treatment, the cure, the vaccines for coronavirus. These are the kind of leaders we want. And I know that women can do it.
Interestingly, you mentioned coronavirus and the difficult year that we've had.
Yeah.
Statistics show that the countries that were being led by women had fewer cases of COVID-19 than countries that were being led by men. What do you think is responsible for this?
Emotional intelligence. Women are nurturers by nature. The way God created them, structured them, is to nurture. And so a woman will usually have that natural empathy. And when you match that with intelligence and the leadership qualities that a woman has gained over time, because leadership is something you learn too. But we see people here just rise and dash into political office without learning what leadership is. Nobody per se is born with it. You learn it, so that you unlearn some of those things that will not make us progress. So those women, those countries, yes, especially the Nordic countries, they were able to manage it because of their timely intervention, their intuition. Women have this very high one, to be spontaneous, pragmatic. These are the qualities we need in leaders, and those women have it. And that was why they were able to stem it. They see it, they go for it. Not sitting down, grandstanding and arguing on television.
Which is what a lot of men do, unfortunately. And we do have a challenge with entitlement. But coming back to Nigeria, we have women who have done a lot too.
Yeah.
Interestingly, a lot of them, and I'll mention a few of them, they have been there and participated in historic decisions, things that have left legacies. And there's one thing, it's one thing to lead, it's another thing to lead and leave a legacy. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who's up for the WTO job now, we know what she did when she was Minister of Finance, the first female Minister of Finance in Nigeria, by the way.
Yes.
And she was the one who was able to win the debt forgiveness that allowed the reemergence of the middle class in Nigeria. And also she created the excess crude account, or she came up with the idea that allowed Nigeria to have so much reserve that we were able to weather the 2009 global crisis. You have Obi Ezekwesili, who was a co-founder of Transparency International. You have Amina Mohammed, who was basically the only person in government who's been able to talk out $10 billion from the federal government for the Ogoni cleanup.
Yes.
And since she left, we've heard pretty much nothing. So women have done historically well in Nigeria. Yet there is this attitude that once you have a woman in leadership who has made a mistake, she or it's taken as if she's definitive of every woman in society. So why is it that there is this double standard where a woman who makes a mistake is, they say, all women are like this because look at what this one did. But men make mistakes every day and nobody says, it seems to be okay. Why do we have this double standard?
The discrimination and the idea that it's a man's world here. It's not a woman's world. And the idea that people do not, for selfish reasons, do not want to bring in the other gender on board. People are so selfish and self-centered that they would rather die on a seat, even if they are not performing, than leave that seat for another person or a woman to take over, or a young person to take over. People have this entitlement mentality that yes, it's either me, my region, my family, my religion, or no one else. And these are the issues we are facing. So many cleavages, unnecessary ones, that people hang on to, to further divide and polarize this country. And we must make the space open for everyone. Level playing field is what we're advocating. For all women to access this, I recommend a gender commission, gender equality commission. We have a federal character commission. Why? Because the men know that they will use that commission in their own interest, not to the detriment of the other gender or youth. So that even that federal character, if they can think up something like that, why don't we have a gender equality commission? Yes. To look into issues that, if we have a president, the vice president should be a woman. That is male. The vice president should be a woman. If we have a president that is female, the vice should be male. And by the way, we now have the second gentleman in the United States.
That's right.
Congratulations to
Kamala
Harris' husband.
American men.
Yeah. So why can't we have it? Why, if we have a woman as governor, why can't we have a man as deputy governor? We've never had a woman anyway. It's only on technical grounds that we had one in Anambra. So what am I saying? That we must make conscious, deliberate, and intentional efforts to bring women to the mainstream of Nigerian politics. Allow them, give space. Affirmative action is that word. We've been talking of 35%, but where are we? Goodluck Jonathan was the best to have done anything about that. He had 33% in his cabinet.
So he came close.
Since he left, see what we have. We just went backwards.
We're right about 7%.
Oh no, nothing to write home about.
All right, well, we'll take a break, but don't go away, because when we come back, I want to ask, what does it take to have a woman who shatters the glass ceiling? Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. I'm still in the studio with Evelyn Onyilo, who's a media practitioner, gender rights advocate, and we're talking about the implications of Kamala Harris emerging as the first female vice president of the United States of America, and looking at how that can encourage little girls here in Nigeria. Now, when the announcement was made, the event was not lost on me. And one of the first things I did, I remember, was to send my daughter a WhatsApp message. And there was a photograph, very inspired photograph of Kamala Harris, looking very busy in her business suit, purposefully walking. And someone had created a shadow of a little girl who was going to school. And I sent that image to my daughter, and I say, well, something historic, something very special has happened. And I dream that you will be able to do everything that you dream for yourself in this life. So it's not just a question of giving room for women to participate. We have to build women leaders. We have to raise women to aspire and dream to become more than just a wife of so and so. So how do we do this? Someone like yourself does not just emerge. There's a mindset you have to have developed to come as far as you have, and to really struggle up the ladder in a world dominated by entitled men. How did you do it, and how do you think we can grow more women leaders in Nigeria?
You've started it by sending that picture to your daughter, explaining the importance of that picture, what it symbolized. You have started it. We have to start when they are young. Like me, I am my father's daughter. When I was growing up, he made it clear to me that I'm special. I could do anything I wished to do, and he gave me education. For a police officer who was struggling with many children, he made sure we had education, good education. So we must start from that. And the mindset right from the home. You have a home where there are boys and girls, share the chores equally. If today the boy is sweeping the living room, tomorrow he will be in the kitchen. He too must stay with mom and learn how to cook, because nobody came into this world to be a cook. And if you give them, you start mentoring them from that time, from childhood, is the mindset. Tell your child, tell your daughter. Right now, my daughter knows when she sees a news that is like gender bias, she will say it while the news is on, or the program is, even drama in Nollywood, she'll say, what is it now? So you'll be beating your wife. Did you marry her to beat? You know? Already she knows what gender-based violence is. She knows what domestic violence is. She knows what rapes is. She knows the issues. You understand? So we must catch them very young. And that is why my NGO, the Initiative for Women's Accelerated Development Program in Africa, we are starting this school advocacy for adolescent girls. Start catching them, start teaching them, start telling them about building their confidence about who they are. And now Kamala has made it easier for them to see. And
so it's important for them to see strong women
exactly
on television all the time.
Yes, that they can. So we must change the narrative and let them unlearn some of those, cultural and so religious, practices that negates and reduces the woman from accomplishing the purpose for which she is on this planet for. God created us all equal.
Do you think that we should look at some of our curriculum? Because I have seen textbooks where gender roles are assigned. They say, daddy's job is to go out and work and mommy's job is to take care of the house.
We should, because even up to the university level, I think there are courses in the humanities where you get development issues, where gender issues come, like some 2% of the course. I think we should start from primary school right up to the university, and there should be some compulsory courses on gender, even at the university level. Like we used to have this GST 101, where you go and learn climate, everything, even though you are not in the geography department. We should have gender too, as general studies in higher institutions.
How do you think we tackle the challenge of cultural and religious influences as it connects to women in leadership positions?
We must change the psyche. We must change the narrative that is going on. People will take up the holy books, turn them upside down, just to suit their own predispositions. And men are guilty of that. So when, as a woman, read for yourself, learn for yourself. You don't wait for anybody to interpret the Bible for you. Most of the pastors are men, though now we have women on the pulpit. But we must allow ourselves, we must take responsibility. That language of COVID-19, take responsibility. We must do it in every area, even in educating ourselves and on learning some of these things. And when we catch them young early, both the young girls and the boys, because it's the boys that grow up to now do as their fathers did.
That's right.
So when we catch them early, we will be doing a whole lot of good in changing the mindset.
I found your position on twinning very interesting. But how can we achieve that? Having candidates who are from both sexes, and also if we're going to get some sort of balance in our elective positions. I know we're already struggling with the appointive positions, but what about the elective positions? What are steps we can take to have more women participation as candidates?
One, the political parties. They must change their manifestos and constitutions. Affirmative action. is the starting point. Before, if they don't do that, you see the way things are going. NSAS has now opened everybody's eyes. Before, we'll now take to the streets too, as women, and say end inequality. You understand? So let's start from the constitutional matters. That 1999 constitution, it must be reviewed to suit everybody, diversities, gender, regions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw very amusing, even though a very serious image that's being shared and it's trending on social media, which was a young Nigerian lady originally from Ekiti State, just won a seat in a state senate. And the governor of Ekiti State, I think, tweeted congratulations to a daughter of Ekiti.
In the United States, right?
In the United States, that's right. But it was the response, or one of the responses, that caught my attention. Because one of the responses, basically called out the governor and said, no, don't stop calling her your daughter, because if she were here,
you wouldn't have given her.
Would you have reserved even the ticket for her?
No.
Or would you have kept it for another man who probably would have had so much more money to buy the position or that?
Thank God for social media. Yeah.
We celebrate women achievement across the world. But what are we doing within our political party, particularly the strong political actors like our president, our governors, and others who can make the difference?
Why did Kamala get to where she got to? Because the party structure sat and agreed. These are the kind of things we need to see with our politicians. Not all the time grabbing power for what? And they're not using this power well. So they must also begin to be aware that the world is no longer what it used to be. We are in the 21st century, for God's sakes. And women are out, we are out, and honestly, we are not going to stop. Because Kamala has shown us that, yes, we really can, and we will.
So interestingly, she said that she is the first, but she will not be the last to hold that position. Very historical words. Well, one last question I would like to ask you. What sort of agenda do you think that the Ministry of Women Affairs should have in making sure that a lot of these recommendations that you've made come to pass?
The Ministry of Women Affairs has, I know they have laudable agendas. When I was Chief Press Secretary to the Minister in 2005 to 2007, I was party to those that sat to review the National Gender Policy. You are aware the country has a National Gender Policy. It was approved by the Obasanjo administration, by the Federal Executive Council, but no one is implementing it. So, beautiful document, there's no political will to implement. Again, the Ministry of Women Affairs is not being properly funded. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody. I'm speaking on the fact that I was once in that ministry as a Chief Press Secretary, and I know. All the monies go to the big ministries. We must fund them properly for them to be able to carry out the mandates they've been set up to do. And I would also encourage that they work closely with the political parties and monitor them. Keep the advocacy on. They've been doing, but they need to do more with political parties to ensure that we get gender equality, politically and otherwise.
All things being equal, within a few years, we should have a female president or vice president.
It is doable.
Or governor.
It is doable. Very doable. Those there, we've not seen what they are doing. We have great women, very fantastic women, doing great things, intelligent women in Nigeria.
And we should grab them before the international community does.
They've been doing so.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much, Stanley.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. A very enlightening conversation we had there with Evelyn Onyilo, who's a media practitioner and women's rights advocate. Now, if we intend to move forward, we're going to have to call on the whole of our team. If women constitute 50% of our population, then it's going to take their participation in full to fully pull us out of the rut that we find ourselves in, both economically and politically. Well, let's see how much we can do to achieve that. And that's it on Exclusive Interview. Until we come your way again next time, thank you for stopping by.